Welcome back to the Archive Network. Aurelius here, with Malik, curators of the Treaty Archive. We left Camp David Accords last time at. Could these words on paper withstand the pressure of reality? The ink was dry, but what comes next? And Sumunai. Today we pick up where we left off. The world watched as hands were shaken and cameras flashed. Leaders who had once been bitter enemies now stood together, seemingly in harmony. But the Camp David Accords tell a much more intricate story. It was written not just in the bold signatures, but also in the fine print and the silences woven between the lines of the agreements. We often forget that history is not just about grand gestures. It's about the hidden tensions and unspoken compromises that shape our world.
Aurelius, that spectacle masked a much deeper reality. Those agreements were more than just words on paper. They were promises made without any real intentions behind them. The future of the Palestinians was mentioned, sure, but only in vague and uncertain terms. A promise of self-governance without a clear path to statehood shows just how little was truly resolved. It leaves so many families hanging, wondering what their lives will look like tomorrow. What does it really mean for them?
The first framework aimed to redefine the political landscape. That much is clear. It proposed a 5-year period of self-governance for the West Bank and Gaza Strip, a significant step. But the glaring lack of specificity around power and responsibilities was troubling. This ambiguity was not just an oversight. It illustrated the deep-seated disagreements that lay at the heart of the negotiations. We often see this pattern in history, where vague promises leave room for conflict rather than resolution.
You're framing this as a negotiation, but it was more of a compromise that sidelined real issues. The right of return for Palestinian refugees and the status of Jerusalem were left unresolved. Those are not mere details. They are the heart of the conflict. The agreement offered autonomy without sovereignty, a bitter pill for those who had suffered for decades.
True. But the second framework was stark and specific, a clear contrast to the first. It meticulously outlined Israel's withdrawal from the Sinai Peninsula, a crucial territory that had been occupied since the 1967 war. We see a clear exchange here, land for peace. Israel dismantled its settlements and pulled back military forces, all in return for Egypt's recognition and security guarantees. This wasn't just about territory. It was a calculated move in the grand chess game of regional stability.
But let's not forget what this meant for Egypt. Regaining the Sinai was a matter of national pride, yet it also came at a cost. Egypt was isolated from other Arab states, accused of betraying the Palestinian cause. Sadat was vilified, even as he was celebrated in the West, highlighting the complexity of these decisions.
The Accords also created the multinational force and observers. This peacekeeping force was a testament to the fragile nature of this agreement. Israel needed assurance against potential attacks once it withdrew from the Sinai. An international presence was a critical measure, but it also underscored the deep-seated distrust lingering between the nations. We often see that in history nations can sign agreements, but that doesn't erase the fears and suspicions that linger. Trust takes time, and this was no exception.
That peacekeeping force was a band-aid over deep wounds. While it aimed to foster stability, it couldn't address the underlying tensions. The PLO's rejection of the Accords was not just a political move. It was a reflection of the pain felt by Palestinians. They saw it as a continuation of their marginalization, not a step toward peace.
Yet, the handshake on the White House lawn was a historic moment. It signified the first formal recognition of Israel by an Arab nation, a breakthrough that many thought impossible. This was no small feat. It opened doors for trade and diplomatic relations that had long been closed. The potential for cultural exchanges was groundbreaking, but the reality was much more complicated. We saw hopes rise, yet beneath the surface, tensions simmered, revealing just how fragile peace can be.
That moment was celebrated in the West, but it didn't resonate the same way in the Arab world. For many, it felt like a betrayal. They saw Egypt's peace as a painful abandonment of the Palestinian cause, leaving them feeling isolated and unheard. The reactions were swift and hostile, echoing the deep divides in the region. Sadat's legacy became one of division rather than unity, a heavy price for peace that affected countless lives and futures.
The ink was dry, but this was just the beginning. The real test lay ahead. We must ask ourselves, can these carefully crafted words withstand the relentless pressures of reality? The historical context of bitterness and conflict won't simply fade away because agreements are signed. We know too well how fragile peace can be. The past has a way of creeping back in, reminding us that the weight of history is not so easily lifted.
Exactly. What happens when the celebrations fade away? The unresolved issues will just keep festering beneath the surface. The people in the region need more than just promises on paper. They deserve real change and hope. Their lives and futures are all tangled together, and the shadows of conflict loom large over them. It's not just politics. It's about families, dreams, and the everyday struggles they face. We can't ignore that human cost.
The Camp David Accords were a gamble. A gamble, perhaps, but a calculated one. They aimed to reshape a complex reality, yet they left the core issues unaddressed. Sure, they produced some immediate results, but we can't ignore that history often repeats itself in these matters. The echoes of past grievances remain loud, reminding us that without addressing the root causes, any agreement is just a band-aid on a deeper wound. We need to learn from this, or we risk repeating the same mistakes.
That's where we leave it this time. Camp David Accords continues. The story isn't finished yet. Find the full series on the Treaty Archive, part of the Archive Network. We'll be back with the next chapter.